Major League Wrestling, why this company has the most potential of any other pro wrestling company in North America today. We're going to take a closer look at MLW and what sets it apart from the rest on this episode of All of My Heroes Wore Spandex. And hello again, everyone. This is Travis Bukowski. You know, if you're a wrestling fan, and I'm pretty sure you are if you're listening to this broadcast, you might not even know about what I consider to be possibly the best pro wrestling company going today. Not AEW, certainly not WWE or even Impact or Lucha Underground, but Major League Wrestling. MLW started some 17 years ago in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. They started on the heels of ECW and was very similar to ECW, actually. They even hired Joey Styles and had a lot of talent, actually. They had their very first show at the ECW Arena, MLW Genesis, at the 2300 Arena back in June of 2002. Strangely enough, 3 people on that card I actually was lucky enough to wrestle with and to go to wrestling school with in Ocala, Florida, with Dory Funk Jr. as the trainer. We had 3 guys: Shirley Doe, PJ Friedman, who apparently went by the name James Bronson in NXT, and then also the guy who I wrestled my very first match against, and that was Super Hentai. All 3 of those guys were on the very first MLW show back in 2002. But you also had guys like Jerry Lynn, Vampiro, Christopher Daniels, The Wall, Steve Corino, and the franchise Shane Douglas. Shane Douglas wound up coming out on top, becoming the very first MLW champion. Now, this company might have started back in 2002, but it wasn't very long before it went out of business. Apparently it was gone by 2004. And then many, many years later, 2017, MLW returns. The summer of 2017, almost 2 years now, MLW has been back. Started back up in Orlando, and over the last several months, they haven't been in Orlando quite a while and have been touring all over the country. But every Monday night, MLW has their new show that usually goes 45 minutes to an hour, usually around 7 o'clock on YouTube. Their show is every Monday on YouTube. You need to check it out. And they really, really are very, very different from any other wrestling company out there. And that's what I want to get to the bottom of today in this episode. There are a lot of things that set this company apart from all the rest. First off, this company is set up to be what they call a hybrid company. Basically, you have guys from all over, all kinds of backgrounds: Ultimate Fighting, MMA, Luchador, wrestling, Japanese strong style wrestling, grapplers, high flyers, the ones that do the flips. You've got a little bit of everything in this company, which is really great. And I want to take, I think there are two things I want to take a closer look at that make MLW really stand out from the rest. One is their talent, the wrestlers that they have. And 2 is just the nature of this company and the way it's run. That one's going to take a little bit. But first, let me get into some of the great talent that MLW has that you might not even know about. Now, a few of these people were on the recent All Elite Wrestling pay-per-view: Ace Romero, Brian Pillman Jr., but they have a whole lot more. Austin Aries just recently signed with them. I know that he's been a hot topic over the last several years and have been in a lot of companies, but he's going to make his debut in MLW very, very soon. L.A. Park, the guy formerly known as La Parka from the Luchador era of Monday Night Nitro and WCW. This guy's been around a long, long time, and he's probably the oldest star on their roster. And probably the second oldest is a guy named Low Ki. He just recently was their heavyweight champion, lost it to their current heavyweight champion, Filthy Tom Lawler, former MMA fighter. He's their current champion. Going back to Low Ki, Low Ki's been around a long, long time as well. He has to have been wrestling now for about 20 years, and he's a great, great guy. He, of course, was in Impact, Ring of Honor, WWE. Low Ki's been all over the place, and he's a legit superstar for sure. But going down the list here of all the names, you also have someone who I think is going to be a super, super huge superstar by the name of Alexander Hammerstone. He actually, first time I saw him was about a year or so ago in a company called WCWC, which is based up in the Pacific Northwest. This guy has to be seen to be believed. He truly has the entire total package, even more so than Lex Luger had. This guy is going to be a huge, huge star, and actually just won one of their brand new titles this week. I think one of the biggest reasons that MLW is hugely popular right now is because of the Hart Foundation, and that's Davey Boy Smith Jr., Brian Pillman Jr., and Teddy Hart. These three guys are a really great cohesive unit. They're very unique. They stand out from everybody else. And whereas you might not have seen Brian Pillman Jr. or Davey Boy Smith Jr. before, you definitely heard of their fathers. And you probably heard of Teddy Hart. And Teddy Hart has really come a long, long, long way and has impressed me as just one of the best wrestlers on television today, in my opinion. And then you got guys like Gringo Loco, who kind of reminds me of a Super Calo from back in the WCW Nitro days as well. But he can do just about anything in that ring. One of the hottest things in MLW today is a three-man group called the Contra Unit. That consists of Jacob Fatu, Joseph Samael, and Simon Gotch. Simon Gotch, most recently in WWE, in NXT. Now, these three guys have just been running this company roughshod over the last several weeks and months in MLW. They've been destroying anyone and everyone they can get their hands on, and have most recently been targeting MLW champion Tom Lawler, but also Low Ki and just about anyone else. These guys have been getting incredible heat, and they have been getting a lot of attention, more than I ever thought that they would. Talk about that a little bit later, because it's very, very interesting. They, of course, have MJF. I don't know if he's going to stay there once AEW gets off the ground and does their weekly shows starting, I believe, in October on TNT. But MJF, I've talked about him before. He's a tremendous, tremendous talent. I don't care what company he's in. He's going to be one of the biggest heels in this business in just a matter of a few years. They also have a guy named Mance Warner, who is a very redneck kind of guy, but he just likes to go out there and fight. He is now teaming, actually, with Sami Callihan, strangely enough. Warner's actually, I think, a babyface. Callihan is not, but now they're teaming. Very, very interesting. They also have the Lucha Brothers in their company, Pentagon Jr. and Rey Fenix. These guys have seen it all, done it all. AAA in Mexico, Impact, Lucha Underground, All Elite Wrestling. These guys have been all over the place, and they've won in every company they've been. They've held titles in every company. Also want to mention, I'm just going through the list here, they just recently signed the Von Erichs. Marshall and Ross Von Erich, I believe, just had their debut match with the company here recently. The sons of Kevin Von Erich, and I tell you, I'm really, really happy to see these guys in a national spotlight. They're really going to get a lot of attention. And I'm saving the best for last, because I think the number one reason to watch MLW right now is someone by the name of Selena De La Renta. She is one of the best managers I've seen in years. I know she doesn't want to be called a manager, but a promoter. Selena De La Renta alone is worth watching MLW for. I have not seen someone with this much talent at this young of an age, just natural raw talent in front of the camera, in front of the microphone in years. And every time I see her and the intensity that she has, she reminds me of sensational Sherry Martel. And I think this, she's going to go a long, long way. Now, she used to wrestle. And from what I understand, she's been injured for a while, but starting this summer, which it almost is summer now, I guess, she supposedly might be back in the ring. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I have no idea, but Selena De La Renta is someone to watch. In my opinion, her and Alexander Hammerstone are the two biggest rising stars, I should say, in this company, and two of the biggest rising stars I've seen in the business in years. They both have that it factor. They have natural ability, talent that can't be taught. These two are going to go a very, very long way. And of course, we have the amazing colored commentator and agent. And this is a key ingredient for this company, and that's Jim Cornette, a guy with an amazing amount of experience. I don't need to tell you about Jim Cornette. So here you go. You have all these great young up-and-coming talents. We only have a couple of guys that have been around a while. Like I said, L.A. Park and Low Key, and I guess you can say Jim Cornette as well. But the real thing that makes this, along with the amazing talent, the real thing that makes this company a must-see thing, if you haven't seen it yet, is the delivery, the style of the product, the straightforwardness of the product. No frills, stories that make sense, stories that you can understand, that are relatively simple, but in a good way. But most of all, I like to say MLW has a perfect recipe of old school and new school together. And what I mean by that is when you watch this show, real wrestling fans out there that have seen wrestling from the 80s and the 90s, wrestling from NWA in the 80s or the WWF in the 80s, when you watch it, you get this hint of old school. You get this feeling of familiarity that you've seen this before, but again, in a good way, meaning it feels like pro wrestling. It feels right. It feels like the kind of thing you want to see as a wrestling fan. And it's really hard to put into words, but if you haven't seen it, and I've said it, 12 times already, you've got to see Major League Wrestling. If you're a real wrestling fan, I guarantee you will appreciate just how basic, and again, I can only say how basic, but in a good way, that this company is. It really sets itself apart from every other company out there, every single one. Every other company out there has ridiculous storylines or stuff that doesn't make sense or things just missing or not explained or just, you have no idea what's going on. With this company, it doesn't matter. You can watch it right now. You can watch it a year ago. They tell a story. They tell a story in the ring. They tell a story with their interviews, with their vignettes, with the backstage stuff that goes on, the packages that they do, the billboards, everything tells a story, and it just makes sense. And it's sometimes hard to exactly put my finger on what it is about it that's so great, but I know at the end of the day, it's just a great company with a lot of people who have a lot of heart. And again, with Jim Cornette, since he's been there, it has really, really skyrocketed, and MLW really is doing a great job out there. Every single person involved in that company deserves some real accolades, because this company, it just, it's onward and upward. The sky's the limit for MLW. So if you haven't seen it, you've got to see it. It's got amazing talent, old school and new school together. The matches are great. It's got everything you need. The only thing that I want to bring up that I feel like MLW is lacking, but I think they're probably going to rectify that here soon, and that is the fact that they don't have a women's division. From what I can tell and what I can remember, I've seen every show basically, including back when it first started, when they had, again, Shane Douglas, Sabu, La Parka, and they never had a women's division in this company. That's the only thing that I think is a little bit strange, a little bit off, is that we haven't seen any actual women's wrestling in this company. I'm assuming it's on its way. But even if it isn't, I'm sure they have a reason for it, one way or another. But again, with Selena coming back into the ring here soon, that's probably going to change. But, this company over the years has done things like war games and great battle royals and a lot of old school stuff. Again, this isn't just an old school nostalgia trip. This is really a legitimately good company with amazing stars that they're going to try to hold on to as long as you can. But anyway, if you haven't seen this show, check it out. Major League Wrestling on YouTube. I guarantee you, if you are a true pro wrestling fan like myself, you will appreciate everything they do. Amazing young up-and-coming talent with great people driving them, showing them the ropes, literally. And you're going to see some amazing wrestling and some great storylines. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for listening to this episode. I really want everyone out there to let me know what they think about wrestling in general and about MLW. So just go ahead and email me at allofmyheroeswearspandex@yahoo.com. Let me know your thoughts on MLW, whether or not you think it's what I was saying, or maybe you're saying the complete opposite. Who knows? But anyway, that's all the time I have for this episode. Have fun, everybody.